neglected person in America is the Black woman, Malcolm X.
For centuries, our identity, lives, and existence have forever been marked with an asterisk.
Educated, for a Black girl.
Nice, for a Black girl.
Different than other Black girls.
Nice hair, for a Black girl.
Influential, for a Black girl.
Articulate, for a Black girl.
Sensitive, for a Black girl. The trials and tribulations, questioning of our identity, and skepticism of our accomplishments forced on us by society made us work harder to break the stigmas and stereotypes that have been pinned on us for decades.
Our identity, accomplishments, and lives are forever marked. Whatever we accomplish, there's a caveat because of our race. We have never been enough. It has always been for a Black girl. Educated, for a Black girl. Our standalone intelligence is always questioned, but our history is overflowing with intelligent and capable women. Katherine Johnson, Mary Jackson, and Dorothy Vaughan, also known as Hidden Figures, were among some of the greatest minds to ever exist in NASA. First known as computers and stuck in a basement of a NASA building because of segregation policies. Even after they retired, they went on to help women and minorities receive equal opportunities. This helped them either become promoted or become supervisors. These three women shifted NASA, but because they were Black women, they were never taken seriously in their field. They always had to go the extra mile to prove that they belonged in their rightful positions. Katherine, Dorothy, and Mary made history at NASA for being intelligent for a Black woman, but they are mathematical geniuses regardless of color. Nice, for a Black girl. The angry Black woman stereotype is a racial trope in American society that portrays Black women as ill-mannered and ill-tempered by nature. Many of the negative characteristics of the angry Black woman develop in a response to external stressors and historical factors, resulting from the aftermath of slavery and its social, economic, and political effects. This stereotype only characterizes Black women as more hostile, aggressive, overbearing, and bitter. But it also holds Black women back from realizing their full potential. Nice for a Black girl is ambiguous because Black girls are not always angry, hostile, and bitter. They are just finding ways to deal with their emotions. Different for a Black girl. When Black men find sudden attraction to Black women, they tend to be shocked that they hold none of the stereotypes that they have been accustomed to. This gets them to start saying things like, "Oh, you're different for a Black girl," which is such an ignorant and naive thing to say. Because isn't everyone different regardless of their race? So when Black girls don't hold any of the stereotypes that society has placed upon them, don't be shocked. Robin Fenty, also known as Rihanna, is a singer and business mogul. She began her career as a musical artist, but soon branched into beauty and fashion. Her cosmetic brand, Fenty Beauty, and lingerie brand, Savage X Fenty, are two of the biggest brands in the world. These two ventures helped her become a billionaire and break numerous records. It has been recorded that $72 million was earned in Fenty Beauty's first month of existence. Rihanna's successes have always been undermined. but others may see her as different for a black girl because of her past successes. And non-black people are more prone to accept her because of her lighter skin and exotic looks.
Nice hair for a black girl. Most black women are born with natural 4C hair, usually coarse, thick, and sometimes deemed unruly. Society has brainwashed us into believing that black women cannot have hair that doesn't fit into the mold they have forced on us. Black women we're supposed to be nappy-headed, bald-headed, and have tight curls and coils. So when a black woman's hair fits into the more Eurocentric ideal, her hair is praised and complimented. Loose curls, long straight hair, and perms are glamorized on black women and always put on a pedestal. Issa Rae, an American actress, creator, and producer, most commonly known for being co-creator, co-writer, and star of the HBO television series Insecure, is known for always rocking her natural hair. She carries herself with confidence and class, never assimilating to the white man's ideals. Rae promotes natural hair in a positive light, which is hardly ever seen in the media. Black women should never be ashamed of their hair and should embrace their eccentric curls and coils. It's what makes them beautiful and uniquely special.
Influential for a black girl. For centuries, black women have been belittled, ignored, and undermined for their successes. They are always seen as less than and never get the respect or recognition they deserve. Ava DuVernay is a pioneer in the black community who has overcome numerous barriers as a black woman in her industry, and she has defied stereotypes with her accomplishments. DuVernay is an American filmmaker who was the first black woman to win the Sundance Film Festival and the first black woman to be nominated for Best Director on her work on Selma. DuVernay's A Wrinkle in Time also helped her become the first black woman to direct a live-action film, winning $100 million at the US box office. Even though DuVernay has proven she is an A-list filmmaker, people still try to belittle her work. She has shown over and over again that she is a force to be reckoned with in the film industry, but her accomplishments are still being overlooked. The successes of black women need to be celebrated, and society needs to work on highlighting the works of black women instead of sweeping their tremendous achievements under a rug.
Articulate for a black girl. When a black woman speaks properly, she receives statements like, "Oh, you sound articulate." This statement is usually said with shock. People believe that the use of grammatically correct English usually shocks people because they believe African American people only use their language, which can sometimes be called AAVE. It stands for African American Vernacular English. The idea that black girls cannot talk properly or sound too intelligent is rooted in racism and perpetuates the idea that black people are uneducated. An idea that stems back to slavery, when Africans were not allowed to learn reading or writing, making them less intelligent than the white man. The use of AAVE does not mean someone is uneducated. The earliest forms of AAVE emerged when Africans came in contact with indentured servants and they traded their languages. Over time, the dialect evolved into AAVE. When people don't use AAVE, they are trying to break away from being called things like ghetto and ratchet. For example, if you go into a job interview and use the AAVE that you're accustomed to, the boss is more than likely to be unsatisfied with your answers. But if you fade away from using the AAVE that you're accustomed to, you will more than likely satisfy the boss. There's nothing wrong with using AAVE, but if some black girls choose not to, it does not make them more articulate than others. They are trying to break away from the stigmas and stereotypes placed on the special dialect. Sensitive for a black girl. Society has perpetuated the idea that Black women are resilient and don't experience things at the same rate as others. The idea that Black people's nerve endings are less sensitive than white people's skin is less thick than Black people's, and Black people's blood coagulates more quickly than white people has been used to mistreat and misdeed Black women for centuries. Black women have been failed by our medical systems. Black Americans are systemically undertreated for pain, and there's racial bias in pain assessment and treatment recommendations. Inequities are the product of complex influences, including implicit biases that healthcare providers don't even know they have. The idea that Black women have a higher pain tolerance is wrong, and healthcare should be equal for all people. Black women should not always be expected to be strong and shouldn't have to hide their emotions to show face.
The first step needed to make a change is educating yourself. Never turn a blind eye when you hear a backhanded compliment being said to a Black woman. Recognize it's an issue and speak up. Taking the time to understand and help stop the hate is very detrimental to the ending of phrases like, for a Black girl. They say ignorance is bliss. Make it your mission to be educated on issues that you haven't been taught about and help spread awareness.
Another step needed to make more change is more media representation for Black women. The representation of African Americans in the media is a major concern. Black women are usually undercast for roles and are portrayed in a way that misconstrues what African American women truly represent. This damages the younger generation because they more commonly see non-Black people doing great things in the media. One might start to think they are less than or will never be able to achieve that of the status of a white woman. If we strengthen media representation and highlight exceptional African Americans doing great things around the world, we can motivate the next generation to be even greater.
Lastly, we ask that you never be afraid to speak up against injustice. You should always be willing to challenge the biases and stereotypes, no matter what is being said. Whether you are affected or not, always be the voice of reason and use your voice to make good noise. If you aren't Black, you still have the power to speak up against injustice by recognizing your position of privilege and power and advocating for those whose voices are being silenced or absent. Never be a bystander and always speak up for what is right. So next time when you hear someone add in for a Black girl to a compliment, speak up and say something like, "You might think what you just said was a compliment, but that is very degrading when you add in for a Black girl. It makes her feel less than everyone else. She is just smart, period."
With everything we have presented today, we now build a new reality where Black girls are confident and believe in themselves. Imposter syndrome won't be an actuality because Black girls are being celebrated and appreciated for who they truly are. They won't be constantly downgraded for their successes, nor will their accomplishments be questioned.
Being in a positive environment is also vital. Black girls should be educated on Black excellence as well as their history. They need to know about all the good Black Americans have brought into this world, and how if it weren't for them, certain things would no longer be available. Black girls are extraordinary, and they deserve a life where they don't have to live with stereotypes, stigmas, and biases.
For a Black girl is not a compliment. It is a statement used to degrade and discredit the accomplishments of Black girls. The phrase carries a negative connotation and can never be used in a positive light. It is important that we as humans take initiative and end phrases like this that limit and subvert the greatness of others. Thank you.
Thank you. I